welcome back to episode 18 of Before the Tones Drop podcast. We have Captain DJ Wynn with us today. Captain, how you doing?
Very good, very good.
Thanks for taking.
Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for taking time to come down and sit with us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Perfect.
It only took 18 episodes. That's
It
nice.
just means you're the 18th most important person that we have to talk to.
I'll take that.
So that's not bad. I mean,
not bad.
I haven't looked at the list in a while, but
Do we need to
18's pretty high.
acknowledge the missing man for today?
Yeah, Devin, I don't know when this episode will get published. He'll probably already have a kid at this point, but he is currently, him and his wife are hopefully having a child today. So very exciting stuff for him. That is child number 2. Wishing the shippers nothing but the best.
Congrats on the new little ship.
Congratulations. So Devin will not be with us today, and we wish him all the best. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
How was your? Because you were gone military last time? Is that what it was?
Actually, I had a fishing trip that we had planned out, and I completly kind of forgot about it.
Okay. That's okay because I think
We
the
didn't
episode
really
was
catch
better
much
without
fish.
you.
That's
anyway.
what I listened, and it was really good. It was really
Yeah.
fun to listen from the outside.
Yeah.
Wendy did a great job.
She did. Yeah, it was good. It was
I learned
good
a lot
episode.
too. I didn't really know much about the comm center.
Yeah, I think everybody did. It was cool.
Definitely.
You have a tough job.
Yeah.
March Madness. You guys got brackets or anything going?
Busted.
Done?
Busted. Mine's terrible.
yeah,
My
Ri-
bracket's terrible.
Ryan was saying before us he has a perfect bracket still.
He didn't do one this year, huh?
Oh, you were telling me, you saying perfect bracket. You picked all the upsets. You knew this was going to happen.
So far, yeah, perfect. I don't have a single loss.
Really? Not one.
Not a single loss.
Congratulations to Ryan. Really good for you. Oh, no, I guess there's some inside joke there with him and Nick Roth. Yeah, Nick had like 3 perfect picks, like the first 3 games, and he was bragging about his perfect bracket or something. So Ryan wanted me to give a shout out to him, but we can get into it. DJ, let's go ahead and start probably all the way back at the beginning. Where'd you grow up?
Sioux City. I am a Sioux City kid.
Sioux City and through?
Yep.
What school did you go to?
I went to, well, it's gone now, Hunt Elementary because I'm old, and then I went to Woodrow Wilson, and it's gone.
That's an old president.
And then I went to North High. I graduated out of North High.
Perfect. And then what was the transition? Did you have any idea this is something you wanted to do?
Kind of. I did know a couple firefighters, one of them being a soon-to-be father-in-law, or ultimately a father-in-law. I'm not sure how you would say that. But I went off to college, USD. I graduated from there, got a social work and criminal justice. Kind of wanted to be a probation officer, but this was always kind of in the back. I did test and did not make the first list that I tested for, so I made the second list that I got on, which would have been way back in '98.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did finish your degree out at USD?
I did, yeah. My goal was to be one of my goals was to be a probation officer. I had kind of some stupid decisions made when I was younger, and a probation officer stepped in, and that guy was fantastic and kind of got me back on the right course, and I was like, this is the guy I want to be.
Good. What did you do in the meantime between college and working here?
I worked for the state, Department of Human Services. Sorry, it's been a while. And I had the unfortunate job. A part of my job was to remove kids. So I took care of child in need of assistance. I found placement services if we could get them back in the home, and if not, all the way up to and including termination of parental rights.
Gotcha.
And my young wife at the time said, you might want to find something else.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be pretty straining.
That was tough. I don't know if I could do that for a career. So I thought I'd find something that had no stress in it. You know.
No stress. Yeah.
And here we are.
Came to the right place.
Yeah.
Who's your father-in-law?
It's kind of a shoelace relation, but it's Steve Trobaugh.
Okay.
Steve Trobaugh married my wife's mother. So, right? Father-in-law? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's how that works.
Yes.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a tight family, the
Yeah,
fire
no
service.
kidding. And you and Trill work together.
We do. We are not technically related anymore, but yes, we are, because there's not a marriage there anymore. But yes, we are still all family.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, you and Derek could be brothers. So you tested, said the first time didn't go so well, second time, 98,
Yeah.
made the list.
Yeah, I made it in '98, got hired in '99, and I was already out and working for the state for probably 3 years, I believe, at that time.
Did you have to get your EMT?
Back then, we got it on probation.
Okay.
I came on with Mike Wyant, and he didn't have his EMT either, so we both got it. That was what we did at nights. Is you went to WIT and went to EMT school. It worked out really well.
How many people were on your guys' test when you took it?
The first one was 401, and then the list I made, I think, was significantly smaller, like high 200s or something.
Yeah,
Nothing like what we see for numbers
still,
now, though.
Yeah,
It's
still a lot
crazy.
higher than what we had now.
And I'd love to know the answer to that. I don't have an answer for why that is.
Yeah, but I don't. If anybody did,
does,
then
yeah.
nobody'd have recruiting problems. Anything like that. So
Exactly.
yeah.
So you and Mike came on together. You're the only two?
Yeah. And I'm trying to think. So we had, who are now, I'll use their rank now, in front of us, right in front of us, was Assistant Chief Kelleher, Captain Hodge, Captain DeBont,
Was it Brooks in that group?
and Lieutenant Steinhoff.
Yeah, I think I know.
They were,
See the photo?
those are literally the guys right in front of us. So we had some big shoes to fill, literally.
Yeah, with you and Mike coming
Yeah.
out together. Yeah.
I don't know, kid. And that was Old Threes.
It was.
And so what was probation like at Old Station 3?
It was fantastic. I had Captain Capron was our captain, and then we had two different lieutenants. We had Lieutenant Dan Lenz and Winkler. Two completely different approaches to being lieutenants. It was fantastic to have both of them at the same time. I think they were on the truck. And then the engine was Captain Capron. He was the captain forever, and he had a neat approach to his job as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great. Had great drivers, great experience. Scared every day I went to work. I really believed that I could be fired that day, not like a process. Like you got fired that day.
I think that was more. That's those. I think those old school officers are just maybe our mentality when we came on, because I think even in 02 we still felt the same thing, and I don't know if it was Winkler, because I had Winkler for a while before he went off with his shoulder, and then he retired just a few months into our probation by him for a little bit. But yeah, you did. It was a sense of that. Like you felt like they could just be like, well, you're done. See ya.
I'm glad you said that, because we have a lot of new probationers that have just recently started. They're starting right now. I think we have like 8 that are starting in the next couple weeks or months.
Yeah.
At any point throughout their year, they're probably going to feel what you felt, and they're probably going to think this is ridiculous. But it's good for them to know that.
I think
our captains and assistant chiefs now, they felt the exact same way when they did their year.
Yeah.
It really is something everyone goes through.
And it's necessary. I really believe that. I mean, not that you need to be scared to lose your job, but I think you need to understand the importance of it, and you need to understand why you're here, and that people are counting on you at the spur of the moment. You better be dialed in.
Yeah.
And I think that's what probation should instill in you, is that it's time to go. When the tones drop, it's time to go.
Yeah.
It's time to work. It's time to go to work.
Did you do any sports in high school?
I did. I played football, track. I wrestled. Oh, that was a nightmare. I did wrestle, though. Forgot about that. I blocked that part of my life out right now.
Baker wrestled a little bit.
He's got a singlet on right now.
I just can't. Yeah.
I liked football. I ran track because I liked football. I wrestled because I liked football.
Yeah.
And back then, that's what the coaches told. What are you doing this winter? You're wrestling. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Stay in shape.
Yeah, it keeps you in shape. Yeah. Did you make it to state or anything like that at any sport?
No, I gotta admit, North was not very strong at it. My only claim to fame for athletics was I was part of a 4x1 team that made a record at the Sioux City Relays. I'm sure it's blown out of the water since then.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And I was the slowest leg on that 4x1, but I was on the team.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
You're talking about your probationary year. Did you ever have any welcome to the fire service moments in that first year that really said, oh, this is what it's all about? Whether that's a call or maybe a chewing from an officer or something. You're like, oh, I kind of get the feeling of this place.
I would say so, yeah. And looking back, I might not be able to pinpoint every single one of them. I really thought every day I learned something every single day. It was so different from what I've done. I don't have any volunteer history. Some guys come on with some kind of understanding. I think you were on volunteer, and you were also in the Army?
Yeah, Army Guard.
Army. So you had some experience with what fire even was. I did not. So every day was completely new. Probably the most aha moment was the captain was gone. The driver stepped up. He was the officer for the day. We got a garage fire late in the middle of the night, and it was rolling. And that was probably my first real fire. I think we probably had a couple small ones. I can think of some overhauling prior to that, but not like a real fire where you're first in, flames rolling over your head, high stress, high movement, high action. Loved every second of it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh dang, I'm in the right spot. This is
you're hooked.
awesome. This is awesome.
I think I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this every shift.
Yeah, definitely. But that was probably my aha moment with fire. I felt I did not feel, with all the training, maybe they're telling you, you're gonna have to do this, you gotta remember all this. It all became natural. Probation, they do a great job with that. They really do.
Any good shenanigans at Old Threes and stuff?
Oh yeah, I don't know if we can
stuff?
talk about most of them. A lot of that's a different world back then. I mean, they could do whatever they wanted to the probies. They were ruthless too. And then my probie partner Wyatt was ruthless to me. I mean, I was the only one he could pick on.
Yeah, Mike was older, wasn't he?
He was. Mike, I think, is exactly 10 years older than me. Still a good friend.
How old were you when you started?
I started at 26.
Okay.
Yep. So I've got 5.5 more years, and I can check out.
How old are you right now?
I'm 51.
Yeah, you'll make it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe making the car or something. Any thought you taking the assistant chief?
I did put my application in. I'll definitely do it. There's a few things I'd like to maybe see through. I think we're kind of at a pivotal point in the department right now. We're taking on some new roles, and not new roles, but maybe a different approach to those same roles that we've always had. And
yeah. We're about to have a new chief. His first podcast.
Yeah.
The chief ever announced his retirement.
Yeah.
Seen a couple news articles, so I think it's pretty well public knowledge at this point.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. I think there's a lot going on. So I'd like to I'm not looking to go off quietly. I still got a voice. I'd like to hear it. I'd like to make some waves before I go.
Yeah, I think you're in the right spot for it. Perfect. So what about floating? Kind of, getting to floating in your fourth man time. What'd you learn during all that?
Floating, I thought was the greatest position on the department when I was a floater. At least I didn't float. I didn't float for the. If you guys remember the name Troy Sonicson, he floated for 13 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be brutal. I'd hate that, but I did not. I floated for maybe 4, 5 years tops. It was great. You go there, you learn something. You hear all their stories, and you'll see you guys 2 months from now. I'm going to hear the same stories again, but it's fresh. It's all good.
Yeah.
I floated a lot with State Engine 1. It seemed like those were some of my better memories, and that was Raleigh Klunder was the captain, Larry Bliven, Trent Garrettson. Oh, the truck had a bunch of hoodlums on it as well. It was great. I had a great time down there. A lot of fun.
Raleigh and Larry, there was. One's had some really good crews. I remember floating when I was on second shift. That was one of them. It was second shift down at One's because it was Klunder and Bliven, Trent Garrettson, DeBont when he was like a fourth man. Heater was down there. Chuck Heinrichsen, Captain Wilson, Willie was down there. I mean, there was just some when he was a lieutenant. I mean, there was some really good dudes. Like when guys were gone, you get to float down. There was some of the. Outside of going to sixes with Rick Ohl and stuff, that was some of the most laughing and fun I think I had was some of those ones crews.
For sure.
Yeah.
And DJ, you've kind of always been a ones guy. I kind of got drawn to the pace, the busyness, the work, the responsibility.
To be completely honest with you, I love the busy. I never minded it at all, but I was only at One's assigned for 5 years.
Was that when you were a lieutenant?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was an eye-opening experience. I hadn't been to one since I was a floater. And that was probably 9 years separation, before I was floating versus going back to ones. And congratulations, you're a lieutenant. Go to ones.
Yeah.
Learn everything that you don't know about right now.
So did you have anything with USAR, tech rescue, vehicle rescue?
I had nothing.
That wasn't your background.
I had nothing.
Total change.
And I loved it. I loved the extrication part. I loved the tech part. The ropes I'm glad somebody around me knew ropes better than I did. Ones was a neat experience for me. I'll always look back on that fondly. I had a great crew, great guys around me. I did not pretend to have all the answers. I had a fantastic driver that kind of led me to the right way as far as the extrication. And then I went and got as much education as I could possibly get for extrication. They sent me to Texas 3 times, and it was fantastic. I love extrication, though.
Good.
I still do. That's one thing I miss.
So what was your path from 4th all the way to lieutenant? Filling those gaps.
For a big portion of that, I drove for Lieutenant Kavarna and loved it. Prior to Scotty, I was at 3s for a little bit, maybe a year and a half. I'm just kind of, it's so long, guys, I'm just kind of guessing on the timeline. Maybe a year and a half at 3s. I enjoyed that. I don't know that I would want to have done that the majority of my career, but I did enjoy it. I wanted to be a driver. I knew that. At 3s, you become a driver, and then 6 months out of your time of driving, you sit in the back of the rig. I didn't want to do that. So I became a driver, and Scotty was looking for a driver at the time, went to 7s, drove for him, went to 4s, followed over to 4s. Phil was with us at that time and continued to drive for Scotty at 4s, and no complaints. There was times where I'll just ride this out the rest of my career. I had no problem at all being a driver.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many years were you with the department before you got promoted?
I didn't even test until year 12.
Wow.
And it's like, I didn't test till year 12, didn't pass it. Year 14, I passed that test, and I think I sat on that list for a little while.
Did you need some motivation from an officer, or just kind of weren't quite comfortable yet, or were you just very content where you were at?
I think it was content. I wouldn't say comfort, but I've never been, like, I didn't need to wear a red helmet. I felt like I was doing a good job. I felt like was an important part of the team. It felt very natural to be doing what I was doing. And honestly, that was my goal getting into the fire department, was to be a driver. And the only thing that really changed with that is Scott was looking at moving. So Scott was maybe my influence. Scott was looking at moving. I was like, I don't want a different officer. I'm comfortable where I'm at. And I think sometimes comfort kind of breeds a little bit of complacency too. So I was maybe too comfortable staying there. I made the list. They shipped me out of there almost immediately, out of 4s, and that was kind of part of the process, is let's see what he does somewhere else. And I guess my biggest driving factor for being a lieutenant is I didn't want to work for somebody I didn't
want to work for.
Didn't want to work for.
Yeah. No, there's something to do with that. So a lot of guys feel
That's
that
probably
way.
the best
You
way
always
of saying
know
it.
Your bosses.
Yeah, and that way you can I wanted to dictate my day a little better. I mean, we got such a tight schedule; it's kind of hard to dictate your day, but we can a little bit as an officer. So,
do you ever think, like, some days, like, if I get an overtime shift or trade or whatever, and just you're on the back or going back to driving, like, how much better that, like, to just, like, especially some days you get on the back, you're like, wow, why did I ever, like, take a promotional test? I just sit here and, like, you look around, you're like, wow, I could have a snack, I could do all kinds of stuff. Like, it's so just like, you're just, oh man, to go back or just drive. I tell you what, driving,
you drove for a long time.
I drove for 8 years. God, that's a good spot.
It is.
When you get a good spot, a good officer, a good crew, and if you really know that rig and stuff, driving on an engine, man, that's a good gig.
And the thing with a driver too is as long as you're doing a good job and you want to be there, you can. Somebody mentioned Kerry Drosh earlier. You could be at that spot for a long time, and they need you there. So there's nothing wrong with that. As an officer, it's like I said. Here's your bugles. Go. You're getting shipped out. I mean, you can't stay where you're at.
Yeah.
I liked 1s. Well, you can't stay at 1s. The 2 captains aren't leaving. So you're going to 4s.
I think your career, I'd probably use Aaron Lyle's career as another good example. When I started about 6 years ago, both were drivers, and both were pretty senior guys, but on a while. Or no, you were a lieutenant. I apologize. But
you're right.
You were on for quite a minute and then just went from lieutenant to captain pretty quick.
Yeah.
And probably rightfully so. It's just a good example of you can do 20 years riding the back or driving, working here, and then you can still leave as an assistant chief even.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you have to stay engaged. And like I said, with that comfort kind of comes complacency. And is if you're a driver or if you're a lieutenant or if you're a captain, no matter where you're at, you have to still be involved with what's going on with the department. I always kind of feel bad. There's so much going on in this department. You can't be in touch of everything. Like what you guys are doing at HR on the HR team, some of that's news to me, which is fantastic. It's good to hear what you're doing. But I think that your movement through those ranks, you still have to be engaged with what we are doing and what's important to the core values of the department too.
Yeah, I think that probably nails it right there.
I know coming
go
out to sevens with that level of engagement and stuff. When I first came out, I still remember. I'll tell anybody like that was with me getting into hazmat and getting into hazmat. You said something like you said that hazmat. It's one of those specialties when you go into hazmat that you can you could just do it or you could be a superstar at it. And I took that and this is coming from you who like everybody when I came out to Sevens Pedersen, all those guys were like, oh, DJ's, yeah, just ask DJ about this or ask DJ about that. Cause he's like, he knows the rig, he knows all this stuff. So it was all about like DJ was like the guy. And then when he's saying, hey, you come out here and you can just learn it or do it or whatever, or it's a specialty that you can be really good at. So that's always been in the back of my head to be really good at it and stuff. So
I like that.
This guy can, kind of planted that seed in the back of my head when I first come on to Seven.
That was never my goal. Like I would not call myself a hazmat guy.
Yeah.
I knew the monitors really well because I was the driver. I'm responsible for the monitors, and I expect that of my drivers now too. But no, as far as we had Rich Anderson was out. He was the hazmat captain, 100%. My role is I'm still in charge of the program, and thank God I have Phil to help me with that. But mine is to try to simplify the process. If it doesn't make sense, why is it on the rig? Mm-hmm. If we've got a new piece of equipment that replaces this piece of equipment, why is that whole piece of equipment on the rig?
Yeah.
So my whole goal since I've been at Fours is to streamline it, and that's definitely not my first time at Fours though. I've had a lot of years in hazmat.
Gotcha. Were you kind of happy to make your way back to Station 4?
That was kind of a weird deal, to be honest with you. I got sent somewhere else when I was newly promoted, and I never made it there. I made it on paper only,
Yep.
And then they said, well, if the chief asked, you go. And the chief said, I need you to go to Fours. Well, that's where I'm going then.
Okay, that sounds good. Before you even became an officer, lieutenant, what were things you really did with the department? Were programs you were involved with, things you were proud of?
One of the bigger ones, I guess, I've been involved with quite a bit with. We used to do the health and safety. This is back because I've been around for so long that we started a lot of those programs, and I say we because I don't pretend to say that I started most of those, but I was on part of a lot of those new things. It's kind of exciting to look back now and see where they have transpired to as far as how much growth has happened. The big one right before lieutenant would have been I had a big role, and I'll say role again because I'm not the one that brought it here, is peer support. Mm-hmm. And that was very important to me to see that one through. I put a lot of time and effort into it. But there was a lot of people running with that ball. Sioux City was ahead of the curve on that, and I think we still are ahead of the curve on it. Mm-hmm. I'm still part of the team, but I try to, in respect to Paul, the guy that's the team lead now, I try to stand back a little bit.
But you used to be in Paul's position at one point.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then I guess I kind of probably did some of those things as a lieutenant, as a captain as well.
Yeah, as lieutenant, yes, and I think I ended it pretty close to when I got promoted to captain. Pretty close to the same time frame, because I think Paul might have been right around that same time frame as he was making lieutenant. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can you explain how the hazmat program kind of works with Sioux City in terms of 4s, 8s, the regional hazmat team?
Yeah.
Kind of our first hazmat guest we've had.
Well, we got
on the
hazmat at
show.
the table.
Yeah. We're all techs here.
I say this to the guys at ones all the time. Hazmat is everywhere.
Yeah.
But no, so we are responsible for the region.
Lurking in the background, just quietly, just those guys over in the corner.
We're responsible for our 12 counties as the regional team, and I've really enjoyed that part of hazmat. We don't, and then also we respond inside city limits as well. But we don't have a ton of hazmat calls in Sioux City. What we've had that I've really enjoyed has been the regional contacts, the regional outreach. The avian flu, Phil might know off the top of his head, we've probably been deployed, let's say 7-8 times for that.
And that's past 2015. So that's,
Correct.
Because our team, we sent, so many people, rotated them out for the influenza outbreak in 2015, which we were part of the hazmat task force that did site security and stuff and watching decon and stuff. So we did a lot of that. But then post that, then after that was the foam trailer that came about the next year because they were worried about the next outbreak. Well, it sat quiet for quite a few years, like a lot of years, to the point where like, why do we even have this thing? We're fixing it because it's breaking, doesn't even run, and all of a sudden now the last 2 years, I think, it's gotten seems like every few months. There was a spot there where it was almost every couple weeks a little bump, but yeah, so that's still an ongoing thing. But that's something that when you look at listed job duties for firefighter, and they like, firefighting activities, ventilation, blah, blah, blah. And right way down at the bottom, it says, and other duties as listed. That's where the foam trailer comes in.
Managing the avian bird flu would be.
Yep.
And I like that. That's what I like about the fire service, is that no day is the same. On all those deployments, you would come in, I'd get a call from Fire Marshal Aesop, are you guys ready to go? Well, of course we're ready to go. I mean, that's my answer. Then we scramble after we get off the phone.
Ready to go.
Put the crew together. But besides the regional team, luckily with Hazmat, we have 2 captains that kind of help run the program. And Phil takes the lead 100% on the training part and the new techs that come on board. And then we're always bouncing ideas off each other. It's nice to have. I feel like we got a lot of active members on the team. I really do. We got some really good personnel in Hazmat.
Yeah, we're going to be in even we got always looking for new members and stuff. Force crews, pretty young as far as the most part, and we got a couple of the older guys out at 8s that they're kind of getting to that point where they're going to be heading down the road. So we'll be bringing in some younger blood and stuff and everything. And I think I think that the energy because hazmat, that's one of those specialties that a lot of people are like, they don't want to do hazmat. They want to go do the cool stuff like on the tech rescue stuff. That's neat stuff. They got neat equipment, but it's not hazmat. I think having the younger energy and more and people that have a little bit more enthusiasm towards it can maybe spur somebody else's energy for it and stuff. And it's some nice stuff, neat stuff, and there's a lot of thinking involved. There's the contacts, like you said, we're making now that we're doing a lot more of the outreach stuff and doing OREs and doing training with all these other departments and facilities and things like that. So that kind of it makes it you get out and about a lot more than what like the tech rescue guys do. They might come down on Fridays to do that kind of stuff, but they're not doing the outreach that we're doing and stuff. Our geographical area is the largest of any team in the state as far as hazmat teams. So we do a lot of stuff. There's some cool stuff that we do, So
yeah, it seems once every couple of years, Hammer 4 goes out for probably some, like a anhydrous leak. I went to Aurelia a couple years ago.
Yeah,
that was Larry's crew.
Yeah, and it's usually that rig unfortunately only averages. I think last year was 18 calls. So it's not going to be a busy service, but your area that you have to have knowledge on and protect is huge. And I've really enjoyed the regional stuff. I really have. That's been and the reason I brought up that avian flu is that shows how good our personnel are. I take six people. We go to a different location. Well, there's rigs going right now. We go to a different location and that we know nothing about. And when we get on site, you have to have the answers. And once that trailer starts running, it is a constant process of keeping it running. And my job is just to kind of run the scene, and I am in awe most of the time of what those guys are willing to do. We've got some really great people that will make that foam trailer happen. And what they have to do is essentially foam, like one of the buildings was 800 feet by 100 feet. You need to foam that area 4 feet high, and you can't stop. And by the way, you can't stop to take a break, and you can't stop to get lunch, and there's no place to get lunch. I'll do my best to find you guys some water. And they make it happen. It's, like I said, got great personnel. We really do. Fours and 8s are very lucky.
Yeah, a lot of good people. Well, and that's any of those hazmat calls when you show up, like, if it's whether it's, an event like that, or even, when we had the overturned tanker down on the interstate here, down by Ottawa here not too long ago, or the Aurelia call or whatever. I mean, they're calling us for a reason, and they expect you when you get there. We're not taking over a scene, but they expect you to have the answer. Like, you're the hazmat guys. What do we do?
Yeah, there's no one. Well, that's such. I mean, the 71st would be the only people above us that we can call if we're like, I don't know
and even that's not. Their thing is, if it's a WMD event or a white powder or something, or chemical release or toxic industrial chemicals, and for poisoning. I mean, their realm, even though they're hazmat, their realm of hazmat's different. You know, ours is like, for a CO2 release or an ammonia release or something like that. You know, that's not what they're in the mode for. You know, that's not their mission necessarily. So these teams, I mean, they're, you know, when we show up in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, you know, with some rural department that's going like, you know, I got this ERG book that's about the extended hazmat. They're looking at us and say, fix it. What do we do? So
we always explain to them that we're not taking over. You're in command. And I had a rural chief tell me one time, well, I'm in command, but I'm just going to do whatever you tell me to do.
Yeah.
You're in command. Let's make this very clear.
You need to maintain that. That's very important. Can you talk about the 71st, what they are to the state of Iowa and what they can do, and like working with them?
Yeah, so they're a great resource. If nothing more than we can just bounce ideas off them. If, like you said, if we come across something that is outside of what our normal realm of response is, they're a great resource to start with. We do a yearly training with them, and they do such a good job. And they don't ever they understand the difference between their role and our role, as far as that this is one of the hats we wear. That's the only hat they wear. Mm-hmm. And they don't try to come in and kind of act like they know everything that's going on. They're very eager to teach, and I think everyone that's on that team that's very important to them, is that their outreach is to teach and make sure that we're better when they leave. And their training every year is probably our best training that we have every year. They do a fantastic job.
Yeah, for listeners and stuff, people that are wondering what's the 71st CST is the Civil Support Team. It's our military counterpart. It's made of full-time Guard members of both Army and Air Guard. Ours are stationed out at Des Moines, and then you have every state has at least one CST. So, like as an example, I believe Nebraska is like the 72nd. So, but yeah, they're the military counterpart. We work with them quite a bit and stuff, and yeah, we got the training coming this summer. It's going to be another big joint training and stuff we're going to have Iowa State Patrol, Woodbury County Sheriff, Sioux City PD. We're going to lump in everybody and stuff and really work that interagency. It helps with that interagency operability, so when we do have things for real, we've at least kind of maybe recognize some faces and stuff like that. So, but yeah, outstanding resource. They've got the extent of equipment and capabilities they have, as far as, I mean, they bring a mobile lab with them to run, with the GCMS, all the super fancy, like the stuff that the guys at the State Hygienic Lab will have, they have on a truck to bring to the scene. So if we have to analyze stuff immediately and kind of do things, they got comms trucks. So if there's no communications, they could hit a satellite and get comms up in an area. They've got, of course, their downrange survey people, their decon people. I mean, just it's a fantastic entity. And then the fact that they can essentially, because with the airport, they can airlift everything. They could mobilize, worldwide if they needed to, if they were utilized and stuff. Because they have, I mean, they do the outreach with us and stuff, but they have their own training that they do through the military and everything that they do a lot of stuff. So it's a pretty high speed outfit. So it's awesome that we get to work with them.
Yeah, I know just from my experience being with the tech program here a little bit, it seems a lot of the training you do at the end of everything, it's like we were probably never going to use this. And that kind of is really the reality, but we don't get to pick and choose when, when that day comes. You're like, oh, there is an anthrax threat, or there is a pipe bomb or whatever the heck might come up. But it's low frequency, high risk events, and it's very important to
and that's where people get hurt.
To train for.
Yeah. That is where we will get people hurt. And I think we've got enough people on the team that understand and recognize that and wouldn't go into a situation that would get people hurt. I believe that, at least. On the calls that I've been on, I can definitely speak for that. I think the personnel are on point and understand the risks that they're taking, and I trust that that's what's going on in the other shifts too.
Yeah, EMS, fire, vehicle extrication, all that stuff's pretty fast. It's quick, and then hazmat, you got to shift gears. It can be slower. You really got to understand what you're dealing with before you start running in and hitting things with hammers.
And usually there's no reason to rush in. I just had a conversation in a rural department, and that's what it was. That what are you guys going to do for the first 45 minutes? Because we're not going to be here.
Yeah.
So I want you to call us so you get us rolling, but we're not going to be here. So what are you doing? don't get anybody hurt.
Yeah.
Call us.
Don't make it worse.
Well, yeah, depending on where we're going, if we're Storm Lake, Cherokee, Spirit Lake area, which we cover all the way up to the Minnesota up to the border, up to the Minnesota border we go. So I mean, Worthington and heading south to just about Ottawa and stuff. So yeah, it's not like you call us, not like the fire department you call us and we're on scene in minutes. I mean, we're talking, there's some potential for you're on your own until we get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll advise on the way and help you out as best we can, but it's going to be a little bit.
Yeah. DJ, you said coming up on about 26 years with the department?
Yep.
That sound right? What, so what are you thinking? Go all the way to 55 and then
Yeah, I will.
probably wrap it up from there?
Yeah, my goal, especially I got into it, kind of what your goals are as you get further into your career. I think that what's really important, and I think peer support brought a lot of that forward to me as what was important. And I would tell everybody is to leave healthy and happy.
Yeah.
And I'm still healthy, and I'm still happy, still love my job. I hope to say in 5.5 years I have the exact same results.
Any thoughts for you and your family? What's going to come afterwards?
My wife says I can't retire because she says if I have 2 days off, I'm bouncing off the walls. I am a busybody. I do stay busy, but yeah, we've got some plans as far as what we'd like to do. Get out of this weather as much as I can would be one of them.
It's a great goal.
I've got 2 kids. One's already living in Sioux City. The other one's, I would imagine, will stay somewhere in Iowa. She's at Iowa State right now. We'll stay close. We're not going to want to leave the kids, and I'm definitely not going to be able to get my wife to leave grandkids. So we'll be in the area. Probably keep this as our home base, and then hopefully get out of the weather as much as we can.
And you got some off day gigs, right, with the gutters and a couple rentals that keep you busy.
Yeah, that's where the busybody comes in. I've got right before this, I was cleaning a rental. So I mean, I'm always doing something. But that's and that won't change. That won't change. I'll stay busy after I retire. It's been a fantastic career. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I know I didn't want to do what I was doing prior to this job, and I think sometimes that's how you find where you want to be in life. Is this is not for me? Go find something else. And if you're on this job and you feel like it's not for you, go find something else.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge commitment, no doubt about it.
I think that's good advice. Not many people leave here. There might be someone that's just faking it or going through day to day, and that has to be just as miserable as anything else.
Oh yeah, I would think so too.
But
yeah.
You don't. That's probably pretty uncommon here. You just don't see a bunch of people, too many people that work here, especially to get through that first year.
It'd be a hard job to fake.
Yeah.
It really would be, because you're living here. It's hard to explain to friends that aren't in the fire service. It's a different world. I mean, it really totally is a different world. 'Cause it's like having a whole separate family.
Yeah.
And that's good and bad.
You see,
Depends who your family is.
our family got a little bit bigger at 8s today. Did you see that?
What happened?
We have a full Medic 8 crew.
That's
Really?
exciting.
First time ever.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
we've already got, I think they got 3 or 4 runs today. We had a couple with them. So yeah, actually first time for fully staffed Medic 8.
What stars aligned to make that happen?
I think just enough.
They're full.
They're full on this shift, and there's enough. Instead of putting a third person on one of the other rigs, they put a solo Medic 8, and once they did that, they opened up the overtime spot, and overtime got filled, so we got a full
awesome.
crew. So yeah, it was it's so weird. In fact, Comm Center, after the morning radio check, Comm Center called and said, like, did I hear that right? Is Medic 8 in service? I said, yep. She's like, wow, really? I said, yep. She's like, wait a minute. So I have a Medic 1, 3, 4, 5, and 8? I said, yep. Like, oh, okay.
That's gotta be fun. For the full 24.
Full 24. Yeah.
That's the big changes I think that we're kind of
We're getting into.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. I just got a staffing deal. If you're in the car, Phil would have got it as well, as far as how to staff the ambulances.
Yeah.
Medic 8's not even on there.
No.
And that thing's brand new.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells you how quick this is changing right now.
So we have any firefighters on EMS rigs today?
No, I think
believe
because the
so.
overtime was filled with. So no, not that way. It's all EMS division, because even the
Okay,
overtime was
no
filled
floaters.
with EMS.
I'm
No.
trying
No
to keep
floaters.
up with when those changes
Yep.
take
No,
effect.
that is not. No,
Not yet,
It's
no.
all EMS division people on the ambulance. But yeah, first time since we got five people at the station today. So.
I'd pick up some Medic 8 overtime.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, there was
Stay
2
put.
fire that put in for it yesterday too. So
Yep.
there was plenty of coverage if they had it, if they needed it.
Yeah, hopefully that keeps up.
Yeah, so
Good
it's
deal.
something else.
We
We were just talking, like, when you talk about, like, it's one of those things where I was talking with Jeff on the way back, I said, full Medic 8 crew. I said, when I said, that's something, at least that happened before he retires or
Sure.
whatever. He's like, that's something he's like, never thought you'd see the day, right? And I guess you could never say never as far as like on this job that you never thought I'd ever see that happen. Well, here we are, for him, it's 20 some odd years later and stuff. And here we got a staff medic 8, It's crazy.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of changes going on, and that's brought out a lot of opinions on things, and some people haven't always felt the same about what's going to happen, but I think opportunity is the best way to describe what's coming in the future. Just between places, rigs you can work on, how efficient we can be in certain areas, how we can really create the best service to have.
It will be a better
It's
service.
exciting, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you talk to guys that were, retired in the last even just 5 years, which really doesn't seem like a long time, but I mean, when you think of how much just change on the way we operate and the, besides just the EMS division stuff and how many different things we have, like you mentioned, Troy, we had dinner with him actually last Friday, bumped into him at a fish fry and sat with Troy. He looks good and stuff, and had a good conversation. Told him we got to come have a cup of coffee, come by 8's, but just explaining. He's like, wow, really? He's like, just telling him all the different stuff, and he's like, man, that is, so he was pretty impressed and stuff with everything.
It's a different department in a lot of ways.
It is,
and we still got a lot of
and that's
changes
like
to
how
make.
much growth in the next 5 years or the next 10 years and stuff. So. Yeah. So, I mean, even with those changes and stuff, like these, I guess, you and I kind of you've been on a few more years before, but I mean, what do you think? I mean, can you think as far as the biggest changes or some of the things from when you started that you can,
Well, the EMS is the obvious one because I was at ones on January. It was January 1 when we brought the ambulances into the firehouses, and it was neat to be part of that process. It really was. That was a big change. I think it's a huge advantage to the service that we can provide to the citizens, and I think that'll only get better with more stability. And I feel personally, I feel that's what we're moving towards is more stability.
That's a good way to put it. Stability
and just improving staffing. I think that we know what the enemies are in terms of burnout. The number of calls running. So the more we can just protect, spread out the load instead of putting it on certain crews.
And if we have Medic 8 even occasionally, that's huge.
That's massive.
That's huge.
Well, yeah, because 3-4 runs that they took, that's a couple runs. A couple of them would have been Medic 1, a couple would have been Medic 4.
Yeah,
that's a couple less runs that those guys have to do today. And they're already running everything else. So, yeah, that one's a good one. I know you don't want to take credit for it, but that peer support, I think, is a big.
That was big.
It's a big change. When you talk about like just fundamental things, because that was something when we started was still the CISM kind of stuff program. It's all there was, and there was we never really thought. We said, here's the program. You'd see Kelly Hansen was running that, and they were ahead of it or whatever. But that was pretty much it. Like there was not ever. And now I think it's part of probation that they learn about.
They do.
They get a presentation to learn about all that stuff. And we have training. We have things that every year that we're talking about. Well, even the good for your head news. Even the monthly thing that you're seeing and stuff. So that's a big big change. I think
it was neat when we got it up and running because we had a lot of departments and law enforcement reaching out to kind of see what we have. There's nothing behind the curtain. It's just people doing good work. And and we didn't hide anything from anybody. We, if you want to see what we have written in the book, here it is. I mean, obviously we're not going to share names, but this is what we've done. This is where we started. This is where we're at. And like I said, I think the team's doing great. They're still constantly moving forward. It's good.
Yeah. The one thing Chief Everett said when we had him last October was the beautiful thing about Sioux City Fire is everyone has their strengths and their things that they take natural interest in, and that naturally somehow spreads out to these teams and people doing these extra programs. I feel like people don't force themselves into teams and programs they really don't have any interest or hobby being or interest being a part of. People on the teams and organizations they're a part of have a natural interest in doing what they do.
And I would say that to anybody in the department, there's enough going on. Go find something that does interest you. Don't get on a team because that looks good for a promotional interview or for whatever you think it looks good for. Do it because it's something that's important to you. And like I like to teach now because I feel like we need some old voices in there, for lack of a better word. So like I think you still have to stay relevant. You have to stay engaged. I did my live fire instructor here not too long ago. I've enjoyed the heck out of that. That kicks my butt, by the way.
That's some long days out there.
Oh, man, the first one we did we did not have enough instructors, and that's what we learned. We need more instructors. So then the chief has always been supportive of that. If you can make a case for what you need, he'll find a way to get it done. And now we've got a lot of live fire instructors, which is fantastic because it is wearing on the instructors. They need it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty. That's on my list of something I want to get one day.
Yeah, it's a neat one, and I enjoy. That's my favorite part of the job is fire.
Yeah,
so.
that new training center out there is.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Remarkable. It's amazing. We trained without that.
Yeah.
For so long.
Yeah,
it's exciting to see what we're going to do in the future. Memorable calls that you've been a part of. Anything that stick out good?
Oh,
I kind of started asking this a couple episodes ago. I like a good fire, maybe. Or a good fire that sticks out, maybe something that really impacted you emotionally, if you're willing to share that, and then something funny. Those are kind of like the three.
Well, I got all of them.
The three categories.
I've got a list of them. I will say that I think good calls, good or bad, you guys understand what I'm saying by that, is going to drive the crew together. So with every crew I have, I can think back to a handful of calls that were like, that's how that crew got united. So in other words, because we're a family, if we're annoying each other in the firehouse, if you have a good call, everything else goes away. And then that'll carry a crew, that'll carry a station for a long time. It seems like. But yeah, I've been very fortunate to get some fantastic fire calls in my career. I feel like I've been fortunate for that, and it always kind of sounds weird because that's somebody else's worst day is one of my better days, but sometimes it's because of the outcome. I've been involved in quite a few recoveries and rescues, and I should say more rescues than recoveries, but I don't know that that's the case. I mean, they haven't all been great outcomes, obviously, but again, the crews did fantastic. I'm trying to think of like what fire that would be, like Central Apartment Fire. That was a neat one. That was kind of one of those. I was at one, so obviously we're right on top of it. Middle of the night, I got Justin Ohm driving for me. He's a fantastic driver. I think I was there before I even woke up, and I'm doing my on-scene report. Nothing visible. Open up the first set of doors, and there's 6 people standing there. The fire alarm's going off, but they're just standing there. They're not giving you anything on their face like there's something serious going on. And go to the next set of doors, and it's fully charged. The whole hall was fully charged, floor to ceiling. Slam that door quick. Slam that door. Kind of get our wits about us. Call. We didn't have a line on us. We were there for a fire alarm. Went back, got a line, opened that door. By that time, truck 1, Captain DeBont, was right behind me. And he even said, "What are we waiting for?" "I'm waiting for the charge this line." I mean, he said, "And why?" And so he, of course, curiosity, peeks his head in that door. "Oh, look, okay, let's go." So, and then we found two victims. Both of them were alive. Thankfully for the EMS crew outside, because all we were doing was dragging bodies, and we found 2 right away in that hallway, and that was a really cool call as far as just how it came in and how fast everybody geared up and how fast everybody got on page. The assistant chief was Brad Robinson at the time. I would say that half of the initial attack was done before he even realized what was going on. And not because he was doing anything wrong. He's got his own role to do as well. It just went so quick, so smooth. It was a fire, one of my few fires that I can remember having a 4th man. That was huge. I mean, we're not used to having 4th men, especially as an engine crew officer. Fantastic how quick that hose was deployed. I'll be honest with you, I stayed at the door when they brought the line to me. That doesn't happen,
No.
And that provided time to do a radio report, tell them what we got, get the EMS people up front. It was fantastic. A 4th personnel would be huge, but that's a wish, not a necessity, unfortunately. But that was a good fire, and that definitely was one of my better fires with the crew I had at ones. We had one, and this was kind of a funny one. It ended up, the outcome was great. We found a guy in the basement. He survived, but it was way up on Hill Street, and we're coming from ones. And Ohm story. Ohm was my driver. We're going up Court Street, middle of the night, and he goes, "Do you want to be first in?" I was like, whatever, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know Ohm. I knew him personally. I did not know him that well as a firefighter. I was like, "Sure, buddy." And he goes, "You better radio engine 4. We're coming up on the intersection of what would it have been?
27th and Court.
27th and Court."
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I mean, they should be way out ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. They were not out ahead of us. So Ohm was right. He brings that up quite a bit. You want to be first in. We were definitely first in on that.
Especially nighttime and stuff. That Court Street, if it's empty, it's a great
run.
shot.
Yeah, they got
Quick.
great shots.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd like to see that district shrink down to try to make the calls, and I don't know how you do it. They got great shots to everything.
Yep.
And they're quick. Even, like anything on Grandview, 19th and Grandview is the line you're going to smoke force.
Yeah, because especially going to that neighborhood, you're pulling the hill, and then you're kind of jogging through the neighborhood. 7's coming the other way, they're pulling the hill. Like everybody's, it's a long way. Yeah, but once you get on Court, that's just a hammer down. So especially if you got a good driver, that's he was a little heavy on the gas and stuff. You beat anybody in.
I've been very fortunate. I've had all of my assignments.
And you got Tro now that
I got Tro.
I taught that guy everything.
And then the third man I got right now, when Tro's gone, because Tro's always on vacation, he gets like 37 shifts a year, I think. I got Cameron Pierce behind him. I got another great driver, and that it takes such a load off if you don't have to worry about what the driver's doing.
Yeah,
it really does. Huge.
What else? Any other things that stand out?
Oh, like I said, I don't know. Some of the humor wouldn't come across well, unless you're in the fire service.
I'm thinking of I always like the story about when you guys went over to South Sioux that time.
Oh, see, that's
great.
That's
a good one.
I've honestly, I got so many good memories on this job, but that was a good one too. Where anytime we've been over to South Sioux, there was a story, because we were initially when we went to South Sioux, it was very interesting when you would roll up on scene. The first one we went to over there, I think it was the first time Sioux City went over there too. I had Lieutenant McClure was my third man, but he was driving that day, and I had Mark Smith on the back. And we got there, and there was an engine sitting there and a truck sitting there, and we had to park like 2 blocks away, but no one knew how to operate the engine or the truck. And when I mean nobody on scene knew how to operate that. They drove it there because they were kind of going through a transition phase, and they didn't have anybody that knew how to operate their equipment. So that's what I tasked those 2 guys with, and both of them looked at me like, I've never even seen that rig. Go figure it out for me, boys. Go figure it out.
Yeah.
And they did.
That was the one with house on the corner, and then they got the exposure fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first house was, by the time we got there, the first house was definitely a loss. It was wind driven. They were doing everything they could do, but it was a tough situation for them to be in, for sure. But there was a lot of interesting stories over there. Some of those I probably shouldn't share.
Yeah.
That's always good. That's all the good stories. So unfortunately,
yes.
You gotta keep it to yourself sometimes. Understandable, you don't want to put them on the radio. But what about maybe some guys in your career that you've worked with that have had good impacts above you, below you? You talked highly of some of the crews you've had, some of the good drivers, third men. So you're very fortunate to work with good people. Yeah,
I think I can learn from, one of the questions that Ryan had sent to me was, what officer kind of mentored you? I would say, and I would hope that people that have worked with me would say the same thing. You're going to learn something from me, good or bad. Mm-hmm. If you liked how an officer handled a situation, mimic that and make it your own. If you thought that guy or gal handled it terribly, do the exact opposite. There's nothing wrong with learning that way as well. And I would say all the way through my career, I've learned from people as far as, I mentioned Scotty quite a bit. He was my main officer, and probably the best thing I could say is for respect for Scotty was he was calm. And I'm kind of a busy person, move quick. That calm was good for me to learn that and see why it was important. I'll give you an example. Like we were at the New Fours running out to an area that had no hydrants, and en route Scott's calling for Hinton, and that's just a kind of a calm thinking effect or thinking approach, and I think I definitely stole from that, for lack of a better word. I took that and try to incorporate that in my own habits. I don't think leadership is something that you're born with. I think you can constantly work on it. I always kind of get a kick out of that when they say leaders are born that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you better be working on it, or it's going to be a struggle. You're not going to enjoy it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Any advice to other officers or maybe junior officers, people trying to promote things that really make a good officer, take care of their crews?
I'd say be patient. I'd say be a doer. Be really good at what you do before worrying about wearing that red helmet. It's not life changing. I guess I can respect guys always having a goal and always working towards that goal of being a lieutenant or being a captain or assistant chief, whatever their goal was. But it's a long ride. Just be patient. Learn the back of that rig really well. I think it's a natural progression. Obviously, you don't always have to do it, but move to the front of that rig. Be a driver. Learn all that. Learn that. Be really proficient. Be really good at it. Know that rig, and then become an officer and lose half of that stuff that you remember. I lean on my crew a lot because of what I used to know really well. Now you're focusing on something else. So you better have a good crew, and they better know that you're. And I don't have a problem with telling them what I'm expecting, but they better know that that's your expectations.
I think that's like one of the hardest things. I think becoming officers is that stuff where it's like you want to do it, but you got to be like, that's not my responsibility.
Not my role.
Like I got to let somebody else do that. I shouldn't be worried about that.
Yeah.
I got other stuff. So yeah, where you're going, I used to do this stuff all the time. I should know this stuff, but it's like that's not really my job. It's my driver's job to know this stuff. I got to make sure that he knows his job. But it's his job to know this stuff that's kind of that's the hard transition for me, I think too.
And that's that team approach though. If you're going, I think to have a successful crew, you better be leaning on them, and they better know that they can lean on you, and that all you're doing is saying what the expectations are. I don't care how you do it. This is what we're doing today. This is what I'd like to see on EMS calls. This is what I'd like to see on fire calls. I trust you guys. You're good people. Let's go do it. Let's go to work.
I like that. What about advice to maybe some of our newer people that are just getting started, going through probation, or just getting off?
I think, I don't know if this would be a politically correct answer, but I think sometimes we chase certifications. Just know the job. Just do the job.
Yeah.
And I think with that comes some patience, that you don't need to get every feather and certification underneath your hat in that first 2 years when it might not even make that much sense to you. Maybe learn the job a little bit, see how people do it wrong at times too, and then go get those certifications. Just be patient. Be patient. Yeah. The old guys will retire off. There'll be all kinds of promotions. I would echo that and stuff.
Yeah.
I
said, think at 5 years I want to take the test to get promoted. Like that's, yeah.
I don't mind the idea of the goal of it.
Yeah.
To me, and I guess I have to speak for myself too. At 5 years, there's no way I would have been.
No.
That I feel like then you're just faking it.
Yeah.
At that point, you better be ready for it.
Or that if you get it, you're gonna struggle because you haven't even learned the job really at that point. Be great. Like be a great third firefighter. Get really good at being on the back, and then get to be a driver and be a great driver for some time. If you're going to be around here for 30 years, you got time.
Yeah, definitely. I know that a lot of the things I learned were as a driver. And what if you're the officer and you're a brand new young officer and the pump's not working? Well, if you've never been a driver or never been in that situation before, what are you going to do? I mean, it's nice to have that memory bank of. I mean, I can see it's Ohm out there trying to get the pump. We're going to back out, boys, because if he's not getting the pump running, we're not getting water.
I always think it's. I mean, maybe it's dumb to think of it this way, but like if you watch Deadliest Catch and you see the guys that were like, that started as a greenhorn and then they're like the crew boss and then they were an engineer, so they knew the engine and everything. Now they're the captain in their wheelhouse, but if something goes wrong, they're like the first ones to go down and they could fix the stuff. And I always thought like. Being a driver for that long and being good at that you can be like, if there's, I can troubleshoot some of the problems that the driver's just struggling, be like, I can't figure this out or what's, and then all of a sudden, well, let me help because let's just walk everything back. Let's one step at a time, or you have some input because the driver should know what that rig smells like and sounds like and feels like and everything and that stuff. But it's just nice to be able to still, like, I was in that role at one point, so I can, you can help and stuff. So yeah, I think that's important as the officer. You gotta, you have an idea how your rig works,
Yeah,
and it makes a difference.
The roles are very defined on this job. I would assume it's that way at every department, but I can only speak for Sioux City Fire. I think we have defined roles, and we know what those roles are supposed to do, and we have personnel to do those roles very well.
Yeah.
And it makes it's if you can stand back and kind of enjoy the show a little bit at a big fire or at a big EMS call, even where everybody is working. We just had a code here recently, and I was working. I don't want to mean that I was standing back not doing anything, but it was nice to look back on it and see that everybody knows what they're doing. It was they did great. It's something to be proud of. It's a great department that moves really well together.
Yeah, it's talking with people from other departments, we're a unique department because when you're done with that first year and then maybe even just some months after, they expect you to know just about everything except that seat.
Yeah.
There's a lot of departments that they got guys 9 years. I don't drive. You got to take the engineer's test.
Yeah.
You have to know a lot. It's so important to be able to fill in any role at any time.
Yes. 100%.
And I don't know if that makes us unique or it's just like the opportunities there for a guy that does come on that's not, that you don't have to take a test, or it's not a promoted position to be a driver. It's just kind of like the, senior guy, but like anybody could move up into that position to fill it, when they're gone and stuff. You don't have to, it's not like if you never test for it, you never get to drive. You get that opportunity, even as a young guy. So
I think coming off probation, could be probably the most important thing when you're floating is get comfortable with those rigs. Are you comfortable? I know that I did this, and that's because I probably was nervous that I was going to screw something up. Is if I went to a station to drive, like if they sent me to go drive truck 3, after the radio checks, pull it out in the morning, stack it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trying to get any praise for it from the officer or the captain. It was, I want to make sure at 2:00 in the morning when you tell me to radio over here to stack that truck, I even know what you're talking about.
You know what you're doing.
And not that I hadn't been taught it. It's just that if you're removed from it, you need to refresh your own memory.
Were you ever a truck guy?
I was a truck guy. I got the privilege of driving for Captain Sewell for a short window of time. Lenny Craker got promoted. Be honest with you, I don't remember where he went. He might have gone to Fours, now that I say that. And then Fox was on the list. Lieutenant Fox was on the list. So they sent Fox to fill the spot. So he took my spot. I used to tease him all the time. He said, "You're too young to be a driver." At that time I was. They moved me up to drive for Rusty. I got to drive for him for like 4 or 5 months in that transition period. It was nice. Yeah, good officer. The truck was brand new. Unfortunately, I was the first one to damage truck 3, but since then they've changed the whole. We knocked a light right off of it, like the third freaking fire that we had with it. Knocked the light right off the top. Well, now those lights are removed and they're down lower.
A good place for it.
It was a terrible place for a light to be there.
Those rigs they take a beating. I'm trying to think.
But other than that, I've been an engine guy my entire career. I've always been an engine guy. Very short period. I never really even floated much onto, a little bit obviously on truck 1 and truck 3, but never assigned except for that short stint with Rusty.
Gotcha. Now you're more seasoned in the fire department. That's not the way saying you're old. Had a lot of, just all the changes, EMS, and then just a lot of the new hires and the turnover. We've seen a lot of people in their 20s, early 20s. I started when I was 20. I know Chase Annals, another one. And then it just seems that a lot of our probationers now are fairly young. What's it been like working with maybe a different generation and bridging that gap to be a mentor and be a part of it instead of kind of just, I'm going to stay in my lane and
it is. I will say it is different. You got to remember, I have kids the same age as like the guys that are floating out to the station. I have a son that same age. I mean, we've got a couple kids on the department that knew my son in high school, so that part is different. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think I feel like my role is to still kind of the values that are essential to us, and to what, I don't want to say the old way of doing things, but just understand the chain of command, understand why we do it this way, and that there is a hard line still there. I understand there's a difference, and they're new to the workforce and new to this lifestyle, but there's a reason for what we do and why we do it a certain way. And you might not see it at 8 o'clock in the morning at the kitchen table, but you will understand it at 3 o'clock in the morning when it's time to go. And I would have a hard time one thing is probably not a great strength of mine is I have a hard time if people don't want to go. You know,
right? Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're here. But not just that you're going to go, that you should want to go, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You should want to catch those runs. Mm-hmm. And I don't care if I haven't got any sleep last night. That's what you have 2 days off for.
Yeah.
So, but that's maybe an old school way of looking at it. But I want the runs. And when I was at ones, I enjoyed didn't enjoy all the runs that we got, the types of runs, but I enjoy the runs. I want to go. I'd much rather be. Yesterday was a slow Sunday. Sundays are tough for me. I do all my paperwork for the month. Phil can understand what I'm talking about.
Yep.
I fire out emails that I've been sitting on for 3 or 4 days. Sundays are my cleanup days because I do not enjoy not doing, and Sundays is kind of our day of rest. So unless it's busy with calls, and yesterday was not busy with calls. I figured with the rain we would be, but we weren't. We only had a few. No,
I think that's a good point. That just with that explaining that kind of things and why we do the things, because that's that newer generation that they come up now and they do ask more questions, not because they're being disrespectful, but just because maybe they think there's either a better way to do it or a different way or a more efficient way, or just want to understand like why are we doing that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So why, and it can seem like the most mundane or just regular, it's like when you go back to the old thing, the thing with the salt shaker, and when they talk about like filling the salt shaker or making your bed in the morning or doing stuff, it's like why do I need to make my bed in the morning? Well, because it establishes routine. You've accomplished something first thing right away, right out the door, and then at the end of the day, if you had a bad day, at least your bed's already made. You can get into a made bed, So, but it's really sitting down and explaining to somebody that just all of that and why, when this builds over the course of a career, and what it means, And if we don't do that as guys that have been on the job for 20 some odd years now, because going back, you look at our generation and just our work ethic and the things that were instilled in us compared to the generation before that, more of we got was like, because I said so, or like just shut up and do your job. Mm-hmm. It was kind of what we would get, and not to be disrespectful of anybody before that, but that was the mentality, and that's what it was, and then so we kind of learned some of that, but at the same time, I think our generation and stuff of firefighter coming was more apt to. We adapted and we kind of are evolving a little bit more than maybe the generation before us. And so now with this next generation, like we still have to instill those core values in the work ethic and just that, belief and understanding, because that's a generation, 20 years from now, that they're the ones that are going to be influencing the next generation of firefighters and stuff. So it is important to plant those seeds in there, yeah.
And we got great young personnel. We really do. I'm always impressed that the department finds some great personnel. I think the people that, maybe that's because that's what's attracted the fire service. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that if you look across the department, the ones that we have would be successful no matter what they did. Mm-hmm. Like I chose this to do this, but I guarantee you I wouldn't be homeless. I'd be. I would have found something else that would have made a career of. And I think you can look across the department and say that about every single one of them. They're all self-starters. They're all hard chargers for the most part, and they're all just good people. And they're easily molded to a situation that they want to be at, if that makes sense. It's easy to kind of transfer a guy or gal into the fire service if they want to be here. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic if you have all these other credentials that would make you great on paper. Do you want to be here? And when I say want to be here, do you want to be here when it's 20 below out and your gear's frozen over? Because you should love that. If you don't love that, then maybe you don't want to be here. Yeah. So those are the kind of things that I think that we can still pass on as far as a traditional way of looking at it.
Yeah, we just got back from on the guard side of things. We just got back from Camp Ridley, Minnesota.
Yeah.
We had to do some ranges and stuff. And with the government shutdown, I was talking about this earlier, but it really changed the timeline of things. And next thing you know, we're out on doing a squad live fire range with the infantry guys out of the Mars.
Yeah.
And it's like 11:30 at night. It's starting to snow. It's cold. And the look on everyone's face is like, this is getting dumb. And a couple of the older guys stood up, or the PL, the sergeant said, hey, we're in the infantry. This is what we do. If you're not loving this right now, you're in the wrong place. And if you really, then you need to find something different, because you really shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You're not getting a little excited to be doing what we're about to do tonight.
Yeah.
So it's going to be long. You're going to be cold. You're not going to sleep. Your food's going to suck. But that's what we do. If you're in the wrong place, if you're not getting a little excited about that.
And I think all that usually takes is an attitude. I can think of those silly long nights at ones where you're running silly calls. Somebody in that cab has to make a joke.
Yeah.
Somebody in that cab
Yeah.
has to have a little better attitude than the rest of them.
Yep.
And if you're not hearing that, then that's your job to be that guy.
Exactly.
But 100%. That's how I feel about it. I love what we get to do.
Yeah.
We get to make the right decisions when no one else is around, and that's a big part of this job, is that you get to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of professions where you have to kind of go along to get along, and I think with the fire service, you get to do the right thing when you need to do the right thing. It's impressive.
I think like you said, some of those days, if you're like on a late night, even if 3 o'clock in the morning on a fire that's just a bender and stuff, and just being like, look at the guy next to you, be like, can you believe this is like our job? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, this is like how many other people besides people the fire service like can relate or understand what this is? To be like, we've been here since 10 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. We've been here since 10, and we're just watching this building just burn and stuff, and just dumping water on it, and just hanging out. Look, you might have a cup of coffee at that point in your hand, and you're just going like, standing in your turnout gear, it's soaking wet, you're a little dirty, you're tired, you're sore, you're beat up, and you're like, just, you're feeling all that, but you're living. And how many other people can be like, and relate to it and be like, dude, this is our job. It's greatest job on earth.
You talk about bringing a crew together, because then you have those nights, and then the next shift you come in, and just there's like an aurora to everyone. That's like a glow almost.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what's going on? How did you get some rest on your days off? And
Yeah.
When I started floating, my first assignment was with Pat O'Donnell. It might have been Chief Everett's crew, because Chief was at Sixes. He was a lieutenant at that time. But anyhow, Pat O'Donnell was my officer for that day, and I'm driving to Morningside. I already said I'm a Northside kid. I knew my district, but not like comfortably. Not like I was one of those guys that would stay up at night, fully dressed, ready to go. 'Cause I'm driving. So we get to go shooting down Morningside Avenue at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's a beautiful summer night, and Pat O'Donnell, which I did not know well, he cussed, but I'll clean it up. He goes, "Isn't this freaking great?" I'm like, I like this guy.
Yeah.
This is great. We get to go flying down the road with lights and sirens in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
well, that's I think if it's positive, that positivity is going to breed positivity.
Yeah.
And if it's negative, oh man, it'll
You can
spread
take
so quick.
You can take the same call, and whatever your attitude is towards that call, that's what the attitude on scene is. If you walk in and you're pissy about it, guess what? It's going to be a pissy call. Mm-hmm. We're already there. Let's go in, do what we're supposed to do, and go home.
Yeah. Just do work, do your job.
Yeah.
It's what it's what you're getting paid for. It's what you signed up for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For sure. And so it's on everyone to pull your buddy out of it when
definitely.
they're having, because
Yeah.
we're not immune to it, right? Like no one can go through and just always maintain that. So when they're feeling a little fatigued, tired, negative, and then it's on that your third man or your officer to bring that person up.
And that's where that weird humor comes in, that you better not do that humor in front of do that in the cab. Fine with
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
But that's where, when you say something about what we all just saw, you don't want to do that in front of the news. You don't want to do that on camera. You wouldn't want that over the radio. But that is how you build a crew.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay to have that laugh in private.
Sure. So let's talk about your family a little bit. You're married?
I am married.
Been married for how long?
Oh gosh, she wouldn't even be offended. Neither one of us know when we're asked. It's been a long time. I got married shortly after college, so I think I've been married since '96. That sound right? I don't know, something around there. She would, like I said, she would not be offended. She understands that neither one of us are good with those dates. But
Gotcha.
no, great wife. Been with her for a long time. 2 kids, and we have a geriatric puppy that she adopted. This puppy that was, when I say geriatric, it is geriatric.
I heard about the dog. Well, I can't remember what morning you brought it, so your wife got a dog.
Yeah, and that is the wife's mission right now, or she works full time too, but that's her mission, is to take care of this geriatric puppy. Because now the kids are gone. So,
Yeah.
but one like my oldest son is my only son. My oldest child is my boy, and he's in town here working. He's got his own little family he's working on, and then my daughter is in Iowa State. She's probably, I think she's 2.5 years into her teaching.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Your son, he thought about testing this summer?
no, I don't know. I couldn't crack that egg as far as why he doesn't have any interest in it. I don't know.
Isn't that weird sometimes?
It is.
Nick Roth and I, like, we had coming back from Ankeny from that deal. Like, when we were just talking about our kids and stuff, and yeah, neither one. Like, you know, my daughter had, like, she's asking questions a little bit. You know, if either one of my kids, I could see her possibly doing it or being a medic, but yeah, my son, yeah, isn't it weird? Like, you know, how much time and effort, and then just not even like I don't even know if my oldest, like, even understands how the day goes. You know, it's like, well, my dad works at this building, but I don't know what happens there. You know, but just nothing. Isn't that weird? I don't know. I just think that's kind of weird. You
But
know?
at the same time, if you don't have interest,
Yeah.
You know, I've encouraged it, obviously, but if you don't have interest, I'm not going to force it.
No,
it's not something you don't want to do. You don't want to spend your whole life doing it, because it is more than just showing up on shift.
Yeah, and if you don't want to do it, I'm not going to just don't do it just because you think that's what I want you to do.
Yeah,
do it because you want to do it. Yeah.
And he tried college, and I think that was for me. And
nice of him.
And then when he was like not loving college, I was like, then go get your EMT, and I think that was for me.
Yep.
Well, that doesn't really work out in the long run, man.
Yeah.
You got to go do what you want to do, and he's doing great.
What does he do now?
He works for a landscaper. He loves that stuff. He does hardscaping is what they call it. So he's doing patios and outdoor kitchens, and
Nice.
he's learned so much from that. You know, he knows how to things that I couldn't have taught him. He knows how to weld now. He knows how to operate equipment that I don't have and haven't done. So he's learning a lot too.
Didn't him and his buddies in the number of years back, didn't they have some good luck in Little League? Didn't they? That made it team or whatever?
Yeah, we made it. That was crazy. He played 81 games of baseball in 1 year. Went all the way to Little League regional. He represented the state of Iowa, and we drove to Indianapolis on my last day of vacation, scraping by and praying for people to work trades for me, because we're just out of time. But yeah, they missed it by 1 run, or they would have been at the Little League World Series.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's
Very neat
cool.
experience though for the whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
Good. Anything you would, mention to your family about being with you through the fire service, being gone once every 3 days, things like that?
Yeah, so my wife's a rock, but I think I had an advantage in that her stepdad was Steve Trobaugh. So Steve Trobaugh came into her life later, but she at least, I'm thinking of like these new wives that you have to explain what shift work is to them, and you have to explain what the schedule is. I mean, for us, it makes sense. It's never going to change. We know exactly what it is. But she knew all that already. Like when I got the job, she already knew that what going on shift meant. So I think that was a huge advantage and of course you're going to have, a kid act up when you're at the firehouse, and we were very clear and open with our kids is if dad comes home, it's a big deal. And I only had to go home one time, but we had a lot of times where she would bring him to the firehouse, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of raising families in the fire services. Sometimes dad has to step out in the parking lot and chew a little butt and then go back inside. Yeah. Dad or mom, who's ever at the fire station that day. But so I think that made it easier, and just the transition into it, because she knew, honestly, like I said, I have no background in fire. She knew as much about it as I did. She knew what to expect as far as the shift work and what that meant to a family as I would have. So yeah, that made that very easy. But I don't envy young families, because it is a challenge. I think you can do a lot more now than maybe we could when we got on. Kids really weren't around the fire station a lot. I think now if you had told the officer, hey, I got to go out in the parking lot, I'll bring a radio with me, but I got a kid freaking out.
Yeah.
I think it'd be totally fine with it. And they probably would have back then, too.
Yeah.
I just think it was different roles as far as who took. I think those on the fire service now are probably very much involved parents. And if you're going to be an involved parent, that means sometimes you got to go to the parking lot.
Did you put a lot of effort into making sure you always had a little comp time or some trades for baseball games and things like that?
I did. Back then, it was comp time wasn't the way it works now, so we did a lot of trading, and it's kind of what we're going into right now with all these babies the same age. That picture that you guys had, that they did. Those dads and moms will all be working for each other.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, hey, I got a game on Wednesday, I got a game on Thursday, So there'll be a lot of trades that way, or maybe with the comp system the way it is now, they might not have to do that. But that's what we did back then.
Mm-hmm.
Is you found the other parents that were totally involved. Like Jesse Pedersen and I used to do that at sevens all the time. It's a pain in the butt, to be honest with you, but you go into the station, go into the station for 2.5 hours, just so that you can have Jesse come in for you the next night for 2.5 hours. But that's how you have to make it work. And that's, again, that you have to be engaged on this job, and you have to purposefully be engaged off this job. Like you can't just go to work and forget about it. You have to be involved with your family when you're here as well.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot to it.
What are some things you enjoy doing on your days off when you're not fixing up a rental or guttering someone's house?
I do go I saw the hobby question. I get a kick out of that, but I do enjoy golf and hunting. I'm not good at either one of them, but I do enjoy them. Golf's the most frustrating sport I've ever come across in my life. You can have a great shot, feel like, man, I could do this all summer.
Yeah.
And then the very next hole, I'm ready to give these clubs up. I'm never playing.
You're
Done.
I'm very competitive with myself.
Yep.
I got some buddies that are very competitive golfers, and then now that we've gotten older, we play my son and his buddies, and that is such a different game. Like they swing a club like their back doesn't hurt. That's one thing. And it's been a lot of fun doing that. So I do enjoy that. Hunting, I do enjoy hunting. I do that, be honest with you, mostly I got back into hunting because that's what my kid loves to do.
Oh, good.
So it gives us something to do. If nothing else, we'll always go deer hunting together. We just got back from hog hunting. That was a lot of fun. I wouldn't even really call that hunting, but that was a great time.
Yeah.
I would recommend doing that.
Was that from the helicopter? Or was that?
I did not do the helicopter. I think those are really expensive, and I don't know if I'd even enjoy that.
Yeah.
I think you'd be sick looking through a scope with the rig, with the
Moving like that.
Yeah, but no, we go down to Oklahoma. This is our 4th time being down there, and it's a riot. It's an absolute riot.
Yeah, you just get your AR and it's like
Yep.
open season.
Yep. And then if nothing more than just the camaraderie with the guys. We always try to take good people down there and good friends, and it's the camaraderie down there is hilarious when somebody misses. It's kind of like the firehouse. If you do something wrong, everyone's going to let you know about it. So it's good.
I like that. Yeah, because you guys are out by Hidden Acres. That's the golf course, right?
Yeah.
You got a golf cart then?
I did. I do not have a golf cart. They do not do family memberships at Hidden Acres. Oh. So I was like, well, I got a family. I want a membership. So we're at the country club and been there for like the last 10 years.
Okay, yeah.
So you can't bring a cart there.
Gotcha. Is that the only? You have to be a member to golf there, correct? The country club.
Or you can come with me. I'll take you. It's a lot of. It's a nice course. It's easy to get on. I don't think they're probably doing great because they need more members, but it's a nice place to go golf.
Yeah, I've never played there.
Yeah, it's fun. We'll do it.
Yeah, we'll have to make that happen.
Because you like golfing.
I like it. I'm in the same boat as you though. I golf. I don't get any better. One hole I'll par or even birdie, and then I'm shooting 3 over on the next one. It's just so tough. I was in Mexico this February, and we played. And I was looking forward to this round of golf. 18 holes, nice course. They had nice tailor-made clubs rented. First 7 holes were going great. Wheels. I was so mad. I was mad the whole day. I'm like, I'm on vacation. I'm just pissed off because my round of golf went really bad, and I have no reason to think it should have gone good in the first place.
I hear you. So anytime we travel outside the country, I always think it'd be cool to go to one of those golf courses. I'm not going to pay for it because I know it's not going to be a good round.
Yep.
It's not my clubs. Not that I have good clubs, but they're at least my clubs. I know it's not going to be a good experience. I'm going to be upset.
Yep.
I'm be like, nope, I'm not paying to golf in Dominican.
Yeah. No, but in the summertime, I like getting out. There's a good group of us on third shift. Chipper will go. Adam Preston will go.
Yeah, you guys are out all the time.
Yeah, we're always going.
Good.
Green Valley, Floyd, whatever. We'll kind of get a group text going.
That's one of the benefits of this schedule.
Yeah.
You know, I think I know I've worked too much on my days off, but that's, you know, if you could sit back and enjoy some of the time that we are allowed, it's huge.
Yeah.
You know,
Just hanging out with your buddies for a few hours. Doesn't matter if you're golfing well or not.
Yeah.
You know, a nice morning in the summer. That's just good for the brain.
You bet, definitely.
So
Good for you guys.
yeah. Anything else we want to talk about before we wrap this up?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think you got me talking more than I usually do.
Yeah,
So you guys did good.
Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Sure.
I've always enjoyed working with you the few times we have.
Yeah.
So I was excited to you took the time to come hang out with us today.
Yeah, and not that we're going to try and steal your driver out to 8s, but
Yeah, I know that. I hear this. I'm threatened all the time.
yes, like, we're just
And
gonna
it's
go.
not just 8s. There's other people that want him too. I'm like, you guys haven't even worked with him. He's terrible. I'm just telling him everybody's terrible.
Yeah,
now.
he's just yeah.
Eight's a good place to be. I got that remodel done, and
8's a nice station.
I think our real estate value is going to go up here pretty soon.
Definitely. It's a very nice station.
Yeah.
Got lucky.
They did good.
Yep.
Very good.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out. We appreciate it. And Ryan, go ahead and drop the tones. We'll wrap this up.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.